So I was watching, the number one show that's going on right now. I think it's taking precedent over every other show, and that is The Last Dance. Hey, listen, everything else got to take a back seat when it comes to The Last Dance. But this past Sunday when I was watching, I found so many little small leadership keys for us to be able to glean from and learn from. And I think that one of the big things, if you want to talk about leadership, one of the first places you could look is in sports, because there's
Yeah.
so much leadership and fellowship that is there. So for the day, instead of it just being kind of a talking head, I wanted to invite one of my friends on with me, Carl Felton. What's up, Carl?
What's going on, Trav? How's everything?
Man, it's good, man. So listen, we're gonna talk through a few ideas of leadership, and the title of this episode is called "I Want to Be Like Mike." Now,
Hey,
it's not necessarily. Make
it's a
it.
mentality.
You know what I mean? Make your decision on the back end. But we have a few leadership keys from this one, and the first one is leadership isn't given, it's earned. You don't choose for people to follow you. Now, I'm not saying that even from a space of what you've done or whatever the case may be, but based on Mike being as popular as he was, based on the gravity of the game that he played, based on his tiger-like intensity, he gained leadership. It was given to him. He wasn't fighting for it. That I would even argue that it wasn't something that all that fame wasn't something that he necessarily asked for, because as you even saw through the documentary, like he was like, man, it's like from sun up to sundown. I mean, people are following Mike. But thinking through the idea of leadership, when you're great at what you do, or when you do what you do well, then it takes notice from other people.
Yeah, I mean, here's the thing. Everybody hates legends. Everybody hates things that people say. But it's one thing to say, this is who I am, based on your actions. And I think about the documentary, and they talk about the first practice. They said, yo, like he's the one. And Mike, when he talked about that first practice, he said, I'm going after the number one guy, and I'm showing him I'm not here to play. So I think that showing people who you are is the first step to leadership, because nobody will follow anybody they don't see exhibiting the expectation.
Nah, that's a good point. And then, well, another one that you mentioned earlier, and we'll move pretty quickly on this one. But the other one was, you saw in, I think it was episode 4, when Pippen went down, and he was really like a key player and a number 2 player,
Right.
and the team started to struggle, and you were kind of talking about how Jordan pulled Rodman up
Yeah.
and pulled him up into ownership. So the second idea is leadership pulls others up from just pure fellowship to ownership. It's not just you're going to play your role, but how can you take ownership of your role? You want to talk a little bit about that one too?
Yeah, because anybody can tell somebody what to do and manage them, but it's another thing when you go from a relationship perspective and say, "Hey, I know you messed up. I know we haven't been doing things well." Because at the time, Rodman was an outcast. He didn't really know where he fit in with the Bulls. But at this point, Kobe was like, MJ was like,
Ooh,
"Yo."
watch it, Doc.
Jordan was like, "Hey, like Scotty's out. I need you. That's why we got you here. I need you to own the rebounds. I need you to own the board the way you've been doing it before you got here. That's your space. That's your home. We need you to do what we do."
Absolutely. No, absolutely. Absolutely. Another big key that we saw from it, I'm calling it lace up your own kicks. And it was something that stood out for me. I think in at the end of episode 5, when Jordan went back to Madison Square Garden, when the Bulls went back to Madison Square Garden, and he went to play, and it might have been his last time playing, based on the documentary. He walked in, and it was something very small, but it hit me in such a way, because he walked in with his own shoes, and he laced up his own kicks. And I think oftentimes, well, anyone could have done that for him. It was such a small, menial task that anyone could have done for him real quick. But I think oftentimes in leadership, um, um, we want to find other people to do a lot of the things for us.
Yeah.
And the challenge that I got there was, yo, do it yourself. Like leadership leads from the front. Leadership leads in what are you doing? Leadership leads from a space of um um people want to follow what you're doing at the end of the day. And but not finding tasks too menial for you to do, but lacing up your own kicks.
I think the word right there is respect.
Mm.
Uh, People respect a person that doesn't need people to do for them, right? A person that says, "Hey, this might be the most minuscule everyday task
Yeah.
that anybody will do for me, but the fact that I'm doing this the way that I like it to be done, instead of saying, 'Hey, you didn't lace my shoes up right. Now I tripped and fell, and this happened.'" No, he owned, and there's a certain respect to that.
Nah, absolutely, absolutely. Um, the next one is instead of walking a path, create a new one.
I love
Create a
that.
new one.
Love it.
Um, Jordan ain't want to mess with Nike. Jordan ain't
Yeah,
want to mess with Nike. He, you know what I mean,
yeah,
he want to go with the, you know what I mean, go with the famous Adidas.
yeah.
But based on certain voices that were in his life, which is another one. But based on certain voices, he didn't take the path that was taken. He took the path of starting something new. And oftentimes that's what leadership is. Leadership is not necessarily, especially I mean, we can talk about this for hours, especially in a day and a time like this with stay-at-home orders and lockdown stuff. Now there is no new path. Now
Yeah.
there is no new. Now there is no path. Now leaders are required to push the envelope and to create new paths for themselves, for their families, for their businesses, for their churches, whatever it is. Leaders are required to do a lot right this second.
Yeah, I mean, and there's nothing wrong with being different. And I think that good leaders, that's one of the best qualities that a good leader has to understand is it's okay to be different. And nine times out of ten, being different will set you apart and give you more love, give you more exposure because it's something new. And everybody likes something new.
Absolutely, absolutely. On the same one, the listen to trusted voices. Leadership,
Mm.
the big piece of leadership is fellowship, and having people in your ear, people that you trust that are close to you, that are around you. Listening to trusted voices. Based on the other one, it was his mom that was like, "Hey, listen, you gonna go listen to Nike. You gonna go see what Nike got to say. You gonna check that out." And based on that influence that she had with him, it changed the entire trajectory of his stock, of his career, of the brand that people wear to this day.
Yeah, I mean, we've all heard it said before. You are the average of your five closest relationships, right? So the people that have access to you in the backstage are supporting what other people see on your front stage, and that it becomes really who you are. So if you
Absolutely.
don't got somebody speaking truth and wisdom and life into you in the backstage, then you don't have what you need to be successful.
As the saying goes, you show me your friends, I'll show you your future. So
Exactly.
that's a concept for that one. Here's the last one. The last one. The world is watching. This is another little small
Mm.
piece that one of the commentators said that was talking about Jordan being in the media, and they said, man, like the media is always on him. They said if he eats pepperoni, the media burps. Um,
Mm.
and in other words, the world is watching. People are watching what you're doing, especially from a leadership standpoint. What you do matters, and how you lead, especially in a season like this. Especially in a season like this, how you lead it matters big. But yeah, what you think about that?
Everybody needs somebody to follow. So if you're a leader, whether you want to be or not, because that's what a lot of the them were going through, our top athletes at the time. Whether you want to be or not, you're a leader because you're on the stage. So everything you does matter. Your level of commitment. And if there's nothing else we get from Michael Jordan, it's that level of commitment. Like you said earlier, the laser-like focus, and that's how you attain a high level of success at setting yourself apart, at accomplishing things that haven't been accomplished before.
No, absolutely, absolutely. And by way of outro, because we're not going to talk about this in depth today. But I think it was that laser light focus. Even the people that gave him a hard time for not really stepping up to be a civil rights activist, and in the time that it was. Now this is a difficult topic, because I would have loved to see Michael Jordan step up in a time like that. But my question is, what if it was that laser-like focus that allowed him to have that continued high level of gameplay? What if he was so focused on being good at the game and working on his brand that's the reason why he's a legend today? That's the reason why we're sitting here talking about him right this second. What if that was the case?
Yeah, I mean, I think that is the truth. Honestly, I mean, if you're saying I don't have time to do things that don't really it was his focus on basketball, man.
Doesn't affect
He didn't come here to do
money.
anything but score. He didn't come
Absolutely.
to do anything else but put a team on his back and say this is our goal. His goal wasn't life out off the court. That's who he was. And so he showed us, because that's who he was, inside and outside. That's why he became what he became.
Yeah, and again, I'll say, I would have loved for him to step up in different areas. I would have loved for him to do so, but I wonder if different players that have went that route, if they kind of had to let go of some of the opportunities, and either let go of the opportunities or let go of that laser-like focus. One of the
Here
two.
it is. What are you willing to give up to be successful?
Absolutely.
What are you willing to give up?
Hey, listen, that's all for today. Hope y'all are good. Peace. Till next time.
Deuces.